Chapter 2 The Accelerative Thrust. Early in March 1967 in eastern Canada, an 11-year-old child died of old age. Ricky Gallant was only 11 years old chronologically, but he suffered from an odd disease called progeria, advanced aging, and he exhibited many of the characteristics of a 90-year-old person. The symptoms of progeria are senility, hardened arteries, baldness, slack and wrinkled skin. In effect, Ricky was an old man when he died, a long lifetime of biological change having been packed into his 11 short years. Cases of progeria are extremely rare, yet in a metaphorical sense the high-technology societies all suffer from this peculiar ailment. They are not growing old or senile, but they are experiencing supernormal rates of change. Many of us have a vague feeling that things are moving faster. Doctors and executives alike complain that they cannot keep up with the latest developments in their fields. Hardly a meeting or conference takes place today without some ritualistic oratory about the challenge of change. Among many there is an uneasy mood, a suspicion that change is out of control. Not everyone, however, shares this anxiety. Millions sleepwalk their way through their lives as if nothing had changed since the 1930s, and as if nothing ever will. Living in what is certainly one of the most exciting periods in human history, they attempt to withdraw from it, to block it out, as if it were possible to make it go away by ignoring it. They seek a separate peace, a diplomatic immunity from change. One sees them everywhere, old people resigned to living out their years, attempting to avoid at any cost the intrusions of the new. Already old people of 35 and 45. Nervous about student riots, sex, LSD or miniskirts, feverishly attempting to persuade themselves that after all youth was always rebellious and that what is happening today is no different from the past. Even among the young we find as incomprehension of change. An incomprehension of change, Students so ignorant of the past that they see nothing unusual about the present. This disturbing fact is that the vast majority of people, including educated and otherwise sophisticated people, find the idea of change so threatening that they attempt to deny its existence. Even many people who understand intellectually that change is accelerating have not internalized that knowledge, do not take this critical social fact into account in planning their own personal lives. Time and change. How do we know that change is accelerating? There is, after all, no absolute way to measure change. In the awesome complexity of the universe, even within any given society, a virtually infinite number of streams of change occur simultaneously. All things, from the tiniest virus to the greatest galaxy, are in reality not things at all, but processes. There is no static point, no nirvana-like unchange against which to measure change. Change is therefore necessarily relative. It is also uneven. If all processes occurred at the same speed, or even if they accelerated or decelerated in unison, it would be impossible to observe change. The future, however, invades the present at differing speeds. Thus it becomes possible to compare the speed of different processes as they unfold. We know, for example, that compared with the biological evolution of the species, cultural and social evolution is extremely rapid. We know that some societies transform themselves technologically or economically more rapidly than others. We also know that different sectors within the same society exhibit different rates of change. The disparity that William Ogborn labelled cultural lag, it is precisely the unevenness of change that makes it measurable. We need, however, a yardstick that makes it possible to compare highly diverse processes, and this yardstick is time. Without time, change has no meaning, and without change, time would stop. Time can be conceived as the intervals during which events occur. Just as money permits us to place a value on both apples and oranges, time permits us to compare unlike processes. When we say that it takes 3 years to build a dam, we are really saying it takes 3 times as long as it takes the Earth to circle the Sun, or 31 million times as long as it takes to sharpen a pencil. Time is the currency of exchange that makes it possible to compare the rates at which very different processes play themselves out. Given the unevenness of change and armed with this yardstick, we still face exhausting difficulties in measuring change. When we speak of the rate of change, we refer to the number of events crowded into an arbitrarily fixed interval of time. Thus, we need to define the events. We need to select our intervals with precision. We need to be careful about the conclusions we draw from the differences we observe. Moreover, in the measurement of change, we are today far more advanced with respect to physical processes than social processes. We know far better, for example, how to measure the rate at which blood flows through the body than the rate at which a rumour flows through society. Even with all these qualifications, however, there is widespread agreement, reaching from historians and archaeologists all across the spectrum to scientists, sociologists, economists and psychologists, that many social processes are speeding up, strikingly, even spectacularly.